we talk about changes, right? Like what changed during the year,
Mhm.
and there were some significant changes in consumer demand, and you alluded to that at the top of the podcast. But I want you to drill down a little bit on that of what is the consumer demand as was defined in 2023.
Yeah, so the biggest change that we've seen in consumer demand actually stems from a trend that we've been seeing for a while, and that is that the affluent want move-in ready. And there's a great statistic out there that's about 75% of all affluent literally want move-in ready. And we've seen that trend for a number of years. But what's grown out of that trend is a demand that is really different in 2023, and that is a consumerism that is looking for an experience-based property. It's no longer good enough just to have a strong, beautiful, um, architecturally clever designed home. What they want to do is when they go to that home, they want to be able to feel the experience of the home. They want it to give them more than just a place that is luxury. And that's really what has driven sales this year for me. Um, we've talked about cash is definitely one of the top things that's driven sales. Correctly priced homes, absolutely key, move-in ready, and now this additional need or different want, and that's what your luxury home buyers are looking for. They're looking for an experience-based property, something where they can go in there, and it can be the environment that it's in, it can be rooms. It's just when you walk into that home, they want, and this is a good tip for anybody who's about to put their home on the market. Look at your property and look at your home and say, have I got rooms that are defined that give a sense of purpose or a sense of if a buyer walked into this house, would they identify with it? The great thing about luxury homes, and also I think the cross that they bear, is that not every home is right for every buyer. So homes speak to certain types of people. Don't try and have your home be all, try and have it as all things to all people. It doesn't work. In a luxury environment, if you have a home, let's just say, that's in the countryside that has a back door that opens out into, mountainous walks, etc., etc. What is that person looking for? That's how you find that experience. So it's not just about the outdoors, got to bring that back inside. What is it when they get home from that big hike they're looking for? Sumptuous bathrooms, spa-like events, those sort of things to soothe those tired limbs. But more so, are these people getting away from everything so they don't want to be surrounded by high technology, or they do, they want to be able to walk into the home and say, hey, put on some smooth jazz and light the fire, and so AI takes over and sets the scene. It's that kind of stuff that we're looking at, which is being driven also by AI, but it's also being driven by this sense of I really want my home to feel special. And it's not a showcase, it's what I want, where I want to feel and where I want to live. And it ticks my boxes.
Deborah, you made a couple of comments that I thought were very interesting just now. The first of which is when you talk about the luxury buyer really wanting that move-in ready home. And I think part of that is because at this level in the playing field, so to speak, these are affluent buyers that are used to having everything at their fingertips the way they want it and now. And so there's that element of it, I suppose. But I think the other part of it is during COVID, which you referred to earlier, we noticed a trend in our market here locally, and we've heard this from our colleagues all over the country. Prior to COVID, most cross-country moves seem to be more driven by must do rather than want to. And so companies would say you have to be, you have to be headquartered in San Diego, or you have to be headquartered in New York for this particular position that you have. And what we learned during COVID was that you can do your job from lots of places. And so lots of the moves that started happening during COVID and since, even until now, is based on lifestyle moves. Well, When
Mhm.
people move across the country, and so we're talking about the affluent buyer, and they move into a market where they love that area and they want to be in that community, they may love, in our case, they may love the idea of living in Nashville, but they don't have the contacts in Nashville. They may have this wonderful craftsman back in LA that they're accustomed to using, but they don't have those contacts in our market. So that
Mhm.
idea of that move-in ready home in the luxury level is so important. They want to walk into something, like you said, that's special, that's luxury, and it's ready right now, not with lots and lots of projects. They may have the means to do the things to make it special, but they don't feel comfortable with their sphere of influence locally for the contacts.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting comment that you made. And then the other comment you made, you talked about experience-based properties. Would love to hear more about that. Tell us about that.
So yeah, so what, as I was saying, is I mean, functional and beautiful is no longer the only criteria they look for. They're willing to pay top dollar, be able to move into a home that really just checks all their boxes. Um, I think, lifestyle is key, um, but it's also the sustainability, environmental functionalities, all of those sort of things really tie into the perfect home. But I think this is, the aspirational wealthy actually the fun part, because as we all know, social media is out there and there's some amazing photos of these great homes, and I get sucked into it too, and I look at some of these crazy pictures of people who have almost got waterfalls in their living rooms, right? And and you think to yourself, that must be really noisy, but of course they've got glass between them and the waterfall that is sound barrier, etc. But that's what I'm talking about, these crazy experiences, and people love these houses are sort of like embedded into rock faces, etc. I mean, we're talking about the extreme here, but just to put it into reality, when you're aspirational wealthy and looking at this and these pictures, etc., these are giving them ideas. This is what is driving this experience-based property, if you ask me. This is why we've seen this change. Um, and I really feel that sellers need to take note of this. I'm not saying you need to go rush around and change everything about your home. What I'm saying is take note what is you will live in your home, right? Sellers live in their home. They know what's special to them. It could just be that little private nook that, as a realtor, you walk through the house, you don't notice it. But to them, that's all that matters, because that little private nook is where they have coffee every morning. And mentioning that about having that private moment could check somebody's box, right? I know when I come home from a hard day, I just want to pick my book up and I want to sit there with my dog and I want to shut the world out. And I want, a little cozy room and leave me alone. But for other people, it's coming back and jumping into the gym and then having a spa-like event afterwards. The bathroom, the shower is no longer good. They want to be able to literally walk into a sauna or, steam room, those sorts of things. But again, the interesting side of this is you have to blend this with the fact that they're very aware of sustainability and environmental. So there's no point just, spending a lot of money on this sort of stuff. They want to see it done with that element, with these elements included. Um, so I could spend hours talking about it, but I'm going to stop.